And welcome to the first ever State of the Mist broadcast. I am your host, Justin Check from DPS, and with me today are three of the top North American players from the competitive PvP scene and Guild Wars 2. My first guest is a winner of the first Tournament of Legends. He is a member of Apex Prime, playing Guardian. Welcome to the show, Morpheus. Morpheus, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. Thanks.
Awesome. Our second guest is a North American All-Star going to Gamescom. He qualified for the finals of Tournament of Legend 2 this past weekend on Outplayed by Children. I give to you guys Zoose. Zeus, how you doing, man?
Yo, what's up? Doing good.
Finally, last but not least, is former member of Team Sync. He played in the PAX Prime event last year, I believe it was. He has the most impressive biceps on the North American scene. He is also he is also a North American All-Star going to Gamescom next week with Zeus. I give to you guys Zombify. Zombify, how you doing, man?
What's up, everyone? I'm doing good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for being here. You guys really came on board last minute. So we definitely appreciate that. And today I figured we would start this broadcast by just talking about Gamescom in general, talk about the All-Star vote, and what was your take on the process, the voting process in general, and then we'll take it from there. So just feel free to jump in at any time. Gamescom, your thoughts on it, this first ever All-Star vote. What did you guys think? All of you guys were candidates. So I'm sure you guys have some fascinating opinions about it.
All
right.
I mean, let's take it.
All right.
Zeus, go.
All right.
Now.
My thoughts on Gamescom. I just want to say I know Grouch has been he was originally a player, and so when he finally got on board, he started out as the PvP community. Then it took a big break from the game, and when I came back, he was an events coordinator. So I know that this is his first big event, and I know they did PAX last year. And in terms of doing a big event, from PAX to Gamescom, is pretty big. Gamescom is a pretty big jump from PAX of last year. I think it's pretty hype because it's in Cologne, and if you've been following kind of the esports scene, there's CSGO that happens there, the LCS for League happens there,
Yeah.
and it's kind of just it's got huge conventions and stuff that you can just host things there, and a lot of cons and stuff happen there too. So I think in terms of the venue and the place and stuff, it's going to be awesome. I mean, they sent us some stuff and the place, and I'm just oh yeah, I'm super hyped for it, and I'm hyped to see everybody. In terms of the actual event, I think I like everybody that's going. I'm just gonna go have a good time, enjoy the event and stuff. But well, what do you mean? Do you want thoughts on
I think that was great. I think as a candidate, do you think did you like the way the voting process was handled? Was it too short of a time? Was it a perfect length of time to get to campaign for votes? You won the All-Star vote. You get to go to Germany with this great experience. I'm just curious, your take on it. Is about a week an adequate amount of time for an All-Star vote? Do you think that was the perfect length? Would you have liked to see it a little longer, a little shorter? And then how did you campaign for votes? Tell your personal stories of what did you guys do to try to get people to vote for you for Gamescom?
I honestly think we should have had a little bit more time, but
Okay.
From my knowledge, this is Grouch's first big event, and he was very pressed for time as it was. So
Yeah.
You got to work with what you have. So it's not really that big of a deal. It would have been nice to have a little bit more time. I personally was streaming and just going around, just talking to people. I already met a lot of people. I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of people at PAX. I had the pleasure of meeting people in game. My camera just died.
Yeah, your camera dropped. Just keep talking. That was great.
Anyway, I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of people in game, just talking to them, answering questions, and that helped have people back me up. They got to at least know me, and hopefully, I will make them proud representing them.
Okay. Okay. Zeus, what did you do for votes? Just out of curiosity, did you have any special streams, giveaways? What'd you do?
I kind of just streamed a lot, and when I first came back to the game, I like the meta was like a dagger LA, so I was like, man, this is really boring to play, and so it was good timing because I kind of came up with the whole, well, it didn't necessarily come up, just popularized, I guess, like the Scepter focus build. And I was already working on a video about it, and I was like, oh, cool. And then, I got the email with like, hey, you want to participate in Gamescom? And I was like, oh, cool. So this is good timing because I can just release this video and then, get two birds with one stone. And want to I've always been publishing like videos and stuff to try to further the community and stuff. And
yeah, I've actually watched a couple of them. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. And so that came out.
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, nice. Welcome, Black. Yeah, so that I just published that, and then I didn't really post on the forums that much. I just streamed.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. That's it.
And finally, Morpheus, same question. You were a candidate. I voted for you. You're a fantastic Guardian player. Sorry you didn't get to go. But what was kind of your take on the Gamescom vote? What did you do for the to gain votes, and just your general take on it?
I definitely thought it was a good idea. It definitely got people back to the game who might have taken a break, like Fanaram, and I wouldn't say Zoose came back because he was already back before that. But other people started playing game because they started reaching out to other people who weren't even playing. Like I heard they reached out to Teldo, people who haven't played in like a year or so. So I thought like it was a good idea to try to get people interested again. Yeah. But like I did kind of talk to Grouch. He told me he was kind of pressed for time, like Zombie said, and yeah, there were some little mishaps here and there. I do think the voting could have been handled a little bit better. Like the system that they use, I felt like it could have been a little bit better. I personally thought when the voting was going to start, I thought you would have to log in because they said they wanted the Guild Wars 2 community to kind of like determine who goes. So I figured you would have to log in and then vote. Okay. But I mean, Grouch told me he was pressed for times. Yeah, so I guess like maybe next time or the next one they do, they'll do that. But I don't know. We'll see. And to kind of get votes, so one of the advantages I thought I would have over most people is that I'm not just a PvP player. Like before I was a PvE. No, I mean, I've always been a PvP player, but I do have a lot of PvE and World Reroll friends. Like Apex, for example, when we joined, was a World Reroll guild. We just joined them because a lot of my friends were in that guild. So they know a lot of World Reroll players and I also know a lot of PvE players. So I kind of reached out to them, and then I also made a forum post to kind of remind people who I was, because like I don't really stream, and we kind of like come, my team kind of like shows up here and there, and then we may disappear for a little bit, and then we come back. So people sometimes forget about us. So I kind of like try to make a forum post to kind of remind people and show people who we actually are. And we've been together for 2 years, so that's kind of what I try to do. But I mean, I didn't win, so I'm glad a lot of people that are going. I mean, I like everyone that's going. I can't really speak for EU, but for NA, I do. So yeah, congrats to them.
USA, baby.
Yeah, I was not surprised that I saw all three of your names on the original list, because you're all top players that I've been following for about a year. And so it was cool to see all three of you on there. And just, very happy for Zoose and Zombify. I'm glad that you guys get to go to Gamescom and represent us in NA. And Morpheus, I think your own accomplishments in the game speak for itself too. So, again, congrats to all three of you just for being candidates. And Zoose, Zombify, I'll be rooting for you guys to take it to Team Miss. Have you guys been practicing at all as a team? Have you been working on your comp? How are you guys getting prepared for Gamescom just in general?
Yeah, we've been practicing.
You've been practicing? Okay.
Yeah, we've had some schedules out. It was unfortunate because my internet went out for 3 days, but outside of that, yeah, we've been playing, trying to figure some things out, working out the kinks.
Okay.
It's been fun.
All right. Nice. So you guys going to take it to Team Miss and beat EU, or?
We're going to try our best.
You're going to try your best?
No. You better. There's not trying your best. We don't want this NA is not as good as EU crap anymore.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, here's the thing. China and EU are sending full teams, right? And we're sending a group of players.
Sure.
So if we smash them, we have nothing to lose. But if they get smashed, they have everything to lose.
That's a great way to look at it. That's awesome. That's perfect. You guys can go in with no pressure because you're not a full team, so you have that excuse to fall back on, right? But if you win, then it kind of embarrasses everybody else, right? I like
Yes.
this.
No excuses though. Just gotta go show up and have a blast, put on a good show.
And I think we lost Zombify. I can't hear him right now.
Oh, whoops! Sorry,
Oops.
I hit my mute button. Whoops. Sorry, my mute
Classic.
button's like right there.
No worries. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I want to. We have like a really weird comp, which is kind of the thing we're trying to also overcome. It's not exactly a comp I think any of us would just pick off the bat, even though we all like playing with each other.
Okay.
But we have some secret stuff prepared. It'll be interesting.
Nice. Well, it's your chance to avenge PAX. So good luck to you both. I hope you guys have a great trip.
It's what I wanted a rematch with Car Crash so bad, but they kind of disbanded.
Yeah.
Rip.
Oh well.
All right. Well, represent NA guys. Like I said, good luck. I'd like to just move kind of past Gamescom now and just talk about just the state of the game in general, and talk about the meta. How is the balance? Personally, I think the balance has improved. But you three are the top players. You tell me, is the balance better than it has been? Is it worse? Tell me your take on it.
Trying to get my thoughts together without having too many fire and pitchforks, coming after me.
Okay.
Better or worse? Like, God, that's such a broad question in terms of.
Start with something specific.
All right. Well, let's take compare it to, let's just say the Condi meta that was around the same time last year. I played in it. Personally, I think this is a more enjoyable meta to play in right now. I think each class has at least something viable that they can play. You don't see a lot of classes sitting on the sidelines anymore. But is that statement accurate? Do you guys agree with my take on it?
It's not accurate.
All right.
A lot of the top players will have viewpoints on certain classes like Ranger. I think Apex is the only top team I can think of that runs a Ranger.
Okay.
Necro is also viewed as not as viable as a lower tier class, even though it can be pretty broken at times. It could be straight up. I think Necro needs some nerfs, but it's it has some shortcomings that are viewed as you can bring something else.
Okay.
There's the top tier classes I think right now are Warrior, Ellie, and Thief.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's for certain reasons of just lack of counterplay. And now you asked the question last year with the Condi meta, and I'm glad we're out of that meta too. Even though I play Necromancer, I was kind of sick of that meta too. It's just now we're there's so much cleanse and everything now. We're in a bunkery meta, which then spikes. You need power creep in order to deal with the bunkery meta.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's like which one is the lesser of the evils in my opinion. So
Okay.
I don't know how you guys feel.
Personally, I feel like the top three, the three strongest classes right now, I feel like are Sword Dagger Thief, Necro, and NG. That's my personal opinion.
Well, in what perspective? I should ask. Like in what setting or objective? Like, are we talking actual tournament play? Or are we talking just in a 1v1?
Maybe I'm thinking more towards 1v1 because
Yeah.
yeah, because I definitely think those three classes probably need to be because I don't know, and I can't really speak for the EU meta, but for the NA meta, I don't know if you guys kind of realize a lot of the matches kind of revolve around one or two players on your team winning their 1v1s.
Yeah.
So if you have like basically like let's take Outplayed's comp for example, they have two NGs, a Necro, a Warrior, and an Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single one of those players on the team can win their 1v1s. So the NA meta is kind of like shifting. Like as you guys kind of noticed that bunkers, or not bunkers, but guardians aren't really needed that much. Because what it kind of does is it kind of, if you have, let's say, a 2v2 at mid, 2v2 at far, and a 1v1 at home, well, if you have a bunker guardian with, I don't know, let's say, Mesmer versus a NG Necro, that creates an unfavorable matchup. Therefore, if you lose that 2v2, then they can snowball on the other points. So having classes that can skirmish pretty well or 1v1 is extremely important. That's why I think Necro, Sword Dagger Thief, and Engie are really strong because they like just prevail when it comes to
I would throw
skirmishes.
Warrior in there. I would throw Warrior in there, and
I,
it's
I would say Warrior, but I mean it would probably be Axe Sword. I don't think Hambo is as strong as everyone makes it to be anymore. I think people finally have learned to how to not I wouldn't say counter Hambo, but just like play against it because it's pretty simple. You just basically need to watch when they use their pin down and go to hammer. But
well,
I
I
don't
was
know
gonna
what you guys
say what I think what makes Warrior so strong isn't just because of Hambo. It's because of other abilities that the class has.
the double endure pain.
Double Endure Pain,
Yes,
Zerking
I've heard
Stance. Like it's an auto
Zerking
Endure
Stance.
Pain. This all comes back to, in my opinion, counterplay, which a lot of classes have very little about them. Like I'll throw out Necromancer, so I mean I'm not being fair. Reaper's Protection, that's pretty stupid. Nightmare Runes with Master of Terror trait, pretty stupid.
It's
Yeah.
pretty annoying. Yeah, it's like immobilize. It's like basically stacking immobilize but worse.
Yeah,
Like,
and
yeah.
I honestly would like to see Terror nerf. Now I'm gonna have all the Necromancers chasing after me, going, "How dare you!" Every time I say this, but I personally preferred my favorite time playing Necro was back during the original double Ellie meta, and it was more so because we were more pressure instead of a giant fear bomb.
Okay.
You know.
I
But
think-
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go. Zeus.
go.
After I'm done coughing up a lung. I think, like, I agree with both Zombie and Morpheus on certain points. Like, I think the meta right now, especially like if you look at it as a spectator, it's better than it was before because it's not just Condi spam per se. There's some coordination, but I think what Morpheus is trying to say is like the North American scene is shifting more into a skirmish meta where you have like 2v2s and 1v1s isolated. So
Yeah.
if you have two nodes on a 2v2 and a 1v1, and you send your like best 1v1 class or your star player or whatever to go fight that 1v1, then Bunker Guardian basically just makes it like a glorified 1v1 basically, or a glorified 2v1 almost, where he just supports the person that's going to be 1v2ing. And sometimes that's not the best case scenario because Guardian excels in giving as many boons as possible to this whole team. So if you're only giving it to one person, then it's not as great. And Ellie is kind of the same way, but Ellie right now, like especially Dagger, is like a glorified version of a Bunker Guardian, where you do more damage and you do more condition damage over time.
It's a bruiser, pretty much. It's a
Yeah, it
bruiser
is.
that has support. That I mean, I would almost throw a Warrior up there. You could replace a lot of Guardians with a Warrior and be just as effective. Who needs to stomp when you can cleave the body down with the strength room is just buffing everyone to really high levels of power, so you can just cleave. Like, there's no point. You don't need stability access. So I think, I mean, even Cheese Mode. I was watching Cheese Mode earlier. They were running double Warriors, not a single Guardian, and they were having success with it. So I agree.
He died.
Yeah.
Rip.
Rip. You did it again.
Oh.
Oh no.
Okay.
Can't hear you. Yep, still can't hear you, Zombify. All right. It's interesting that you guys said that Bunker Guardian is starting to be phased out of the NA meta. Because I kind of got the same vibe just casting the most recent 2L2.
I'm back.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I was just saying it's interesting that you guys have noticed this about Guardian and that you guys are kind of bringing that up right away about how Bunker Guardian isn't really necessary. You're seeing the NA meta shift towards this more skirmish style. Do you think then Guardian is now in a bad spot just in terms of balance? Do you think it needs any form of buffs, or do you just see it, the role shifting to more DPS? Do you see the DPS guard kind of taking off from there as more players shift to this, more skirmish style of play? Just looking at Guardian specifically and where it's at, is it a problem for the Guardian class that it's no longer necessary for that team support, or do you just think that DPS guard is going to kind of be elevated now because of this?
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me see. Let me take a shot at this.
Okay.
I think I think if certain classes got nerfed, especially ones that have a little, less counterplay, Guardian would be fine. It still holds a spot. I mean, Guardian's still a good class. Having
Okay.
stability access for your team to peel away, it's still good. Blocks, it's still a good class. The thing is, these skirmisher classes. Morph said Necro. We have Warrior, in my opinion. We have an SD Thief, and these skirmisher classes. I you can make mistakes on them. That's the whole DDLE too. They're less forgiving, so you can skirmish and make a little bit more mistakes and still be effective,
Okay.
in my opinion. So I mean, if you tone down those, you probably would see Guardians still sticking around. But that's my thought process on it.
Okay. All right. Morpheus, you're the Guardian player. What do you think?
I think it also depends on who you're going against or what the other team's comp is. For example, if you're going against a team where they're running a power comp, I think Guardian's still in a perfect situation. But when you're going against a team that has a lot of condies and they're running 5 DPS, meaning they have one bursty class, they have, I don't know, 3 other classes that put out a ton of condies, and then they have a CC or Hambo warrior. I definitely think Guardian is in a worse position then, because you have one person who's free casting, and the Guardian is almost nearly useless because of all the condi that's getting put on the team. So he's not really doing much. When I'd rather have another warrior, or another DPS class to burst down the other team faster. So I do think DPS Guardian is making a way into the meta, because I don't know if you kind of noticed, but on NA, I've kind of started playing DPS, so is Kpud, and I do think bringing back the old days, but I always love playing DPS Guardian, so I'm kind of happy that this meta is kind of shifting this way.
Yeah.
So I can stop playing Bunker and I can finally go back to DPS, but like I said, it really depends on the other team's comp.
Okay.
I do think, I agree with what Zombie said. If some classes, a lot of these skirmishy classes get toned down, Guardian will still be in a perfect spot. It's just it's a lot harder to be effective as a Bunker Guardian in this meta.
Okay.
And only the best of the best can really, really kind of shine. Because like Zombie said, stability access, Aegis, what? Did I say something?
No, he's laughing at my camera, I think.
Oh, okay. Stability access when you need it is huge, and also the knockback. Now nothing is better than when you have a Guardian go down and res and try to res a teammate, and the knockback goes off and it knocks everyone back. That's always clutch. But the problem is, with the team that has 5 DPS, if the Guardian tries to go down and res a teammate, they can just cleave the body to the point where the Guardian will die, and he's almost useless. So that's why sometimes I think it's not that effective running a Guardian, because that's one of the key things you have, or key reasons you have a Guardian, is because of resing. But blocking, conning clear, is always still good, but we'll see. We'll see what A&M brings with this balance patch.
Yeah.
Well, one of my other thoughts is you mentioned Guardians will be good versus power. I've seen good Guardians get 100 to 0 by a burst opener. I think you can't do that to a warrior. You can't. If he's spec'd an auto endure pain, he will not die to that opener no matter what. And it's just another point where that's not counterplay around that.
Yeah.
So why bring a Guardian? And in that scenario you were talking about, Morph, when you could bring a warrior, like you said.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
So do warriors need to be toned down further? Is that one of the kind of nerfs you'd like to see? I know Zombify, you've already mentioned the Terra nerf. What other nerfs would you like to see? Does warrior need to be toned down? Are AI builds still a problem? If you see the meta shifting to skirmish to a skirmish meta, what's OP right now? What needs to be kind of toned down? I know this is kind of an open question, but is warrior specific a problem, or what other balance changes would you guys like to see just in general?
I personally dislike passive play.
Okay.
For example,
I agree with that.
That's the
could
big
see that.
issue I have. I cannot
Definitely.
stand passive play. So if they can maybe fix that, I think a lot of things might be the balance. That would definitely help the balance.
Okay.
I fully agree with that. That goes right in line. I keep saying lack of counterplay. Passive play is right in there.
Yeah. I think every player here would definitely like to see more like active play in a lot of builds.
Yeah.
You know, is it again with Warrior? Is it too passive? You think is that part of the problem right now in the meta? That endure pain proc that you can get on the trade. You know, what specific changes would you like to see to classes that kind of have too much passive play right now?
I don't think it's well. Part of it is passive play, but the issue is like I'm gonna take my build for example, like Scepter Focus Ellie.
Okay.
The only reason that build shines is because you can cycle through invulns, and there's no counterplay to invulnerabilities. But there's so much power creep in the game, you have to have invulnerabilities in the game at this point. Otherwise,
Yeah.
some classes just might be rooted out. So the core issue, I think, is not necessarily like passive play, but there just needs to be a way where you can counter things. Like I'm going to take, for example, when I came back to the game like 4 months ago, Pin Down was an instant cast with an extremely fast traveling projectile animation.
And no animation. It had
No
no
animation.
cast animation.
No cast animation. So it was instant cast, and there was nothing you could do about it. Now they made one small change. They didn't nerf Pin Down. They gave it an animation where, you know, it swirls up and you can see it. And that's really what it comes down to. You need to be able to have things that aren't either instant cast or projectiles need to have travel times. Like Necromarks, instant. Like
I
you
agree.
can't see things like Fresh Air Ellie. Like the reason it's good is because my Fresh Air burst is instant on demand. Like if
Yeah, I know that.
while you're
Look, I was-
CC'd, while you're
While I'm
CC'd too,
CC'd,
I've
I
been.
still use it.
Yeah, I've experienced it too well.
Yeah.
It hurts.
It hurts.
You can play a berserker class, or you can play like people say, oh, you know, bunkers are so strong and stuff like that. Well, SD Thief is not a bunker. The reason it's strong is because there's no counterplay to dodges. Evade is evade 100%. There's nothing that you can stop that with. Like if you gave evade times frames, like there's maybe a 1 or 2 frame advantage before you can maybe chain more than 2 evades at once. 3 evades at once, then okay, like SD Thief is gonna have a bit more of a problem, you know. But that goes to show not only like SD Thieves will be toned down, but like you can have more counterplay to people that run things like Energy Sigil. There's like drawbacks to that and stuff. But I don't think necessarily like sigils or like runes and stuff are the core issue. The core issue is that certain classes just have either A, way too much passive play, or B, too forgiving in terms of like invulnerabilities or just you can't touch me buttons, or just like, you know, FU buttons like SD Thief and, you know, Berserker Stance, Endure Pain, Obsidian Flesh for, you know, Scepter Focus Ellie. Like that's the main reason. But I think in order to fix that, like you can't necessarily approach it just I'm just gonna throw like as many balance things as I can. You have to approach it like by small increments, and I think going back to like the meta, like Mesmer. I don't think Mesmer is that good right now. Like Knight is a really good Mesmer, and he plays for Apex right now. And we were like circle jerking each other for a bit because I was like, "Oh, dude, Knight, you're so good. Like you're so hard to kill." And he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Thanks." That coming from like the Fresh Air Ellie and stuff. And so like, I just think if you're good at it, like if you go like let's say when you play it like the high tier, you have all these players that are like here, and if your like plateau is like if you're here and the plateau that you reach is right here, and the high tier players are this, then you need to be like up here with your less, you know, efficient build to be better than them. And
Yep.
that's really what it comes down to. Like there's skill cap, and then there's skill ceiling, and then there's skill floor. So like the skill floor of warriors is very low, and
Yeah.
the skill ceiling for them is not like extremely high, but it's high enough that you can make it work in a team setting because there's more advantages to play in. And like the same thing works for DDLE. Like the skill floor is very low in the ceiling, and SD Thief, etc. So if you want more, like if you want them to have a more exciting game, then you need to make classes have either higher skill floors or higher skill ceilings that they can excel past these, like, you know, brain dead builds that people play. That's the main issue, I think.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts just on the balance in general? You know, let's look specifically at what we know. You know, what changes are coming. You know, Zombify earlier, you mentioned that a lot of top players don't see Ranger in a good spot right now. do you see that changing with the changes that we've now seen, with the change to the 2 on the longbow and just the longbow buffs in general? Do you think that Zerker longbow sword dagger build is going to become a new thing, or do you just see it not really contributing much? Just in general, guys, the changes that we've seen to Ranger, do you think that Ranger is going to be elevated at all after this patch, or do you think it's going to be still in kind of a similar spot?
I think it will help Power Rangers a little bit, but no, I do not see that. The only reason people were bringing Rangers originally was Spirits back when they first came through. It once again lack of counterplay. They were very hard to play against with what they could do. Just a straight up burst. And anyway, the reason I think Rangers are still and why Apex runs one is just their elite. Their elite's really good. That's it.
The res and the heal, yeah.
So buffing Power Rangers is not going to bring him back in because you put a good SD thief on that Power Ranger, he's dead. Because Power Ranger's all about positioning, even more so than a Necro. Pushing into a good Longbow Ranger, it's a pain. It hurts. Mm-hmm. But if you have a thief that can just blink there, dodge around, and hit him with a fire air sigil from a Larcenist strike, he's not going to survive. A good thief will just train him down to the ground. So I don't think that's going to bring him back in the meta at all.
Okay, all right. Zoose, Morpheus, do you guys agree or disagree?
I agree.
Same thing?
I was just going to say, it basically doesn't have enough heals for itself in this meta. I don't think so. And if they have a thief exactly like Zombie said, he would get extremely shut down. It wouldn't even be funny.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So,
Fish.
just the thief trains them, you think it'll cancel them out?
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Like I said, the only reason that we still see some Rangers here and there is that good elite. That elite's pretty good, especially if you know how to properly position it and use it. But I do not see Power Ranger becoming anywhere close to,
at the same time, I don't want to say it won't come back 100%. I do think with them buffing it, it'll give people the opportunity or a reason to try it out, and maybe someone will find a build.
Yeah, someone will
work.
think of something we don't know. Yeah, it could always happen. There's always
Yeah.
builds out there. It could happen, definitely.
All right. Zeus, did you have anything that you wanted to say? Sorry, I think I accidentally cut you off earlier. Just Power Ranger in general, do you kind of agree with everybody here on it, or any different thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with most of what everybody's saying. I think going back to Power Ranger and Thief, technically a Thief is strong because it shuts down any other Berserker class. It has an advantage. That's its job. That's what the Thief is made for, yeah? You're supposed to assassinate their squishies, and you're supposed to get out alive. And, with Steel being able to ignore, the rules of the game, pretty much like LOS and things of that nature, you can't hide behind things and escape from a Thief. If you made a Power Ranger be able to escape from the Thief, yeah, sure. Or if you made a Mesmer, yeah, sure. Those classes would be, quote-unquote OP. But the thing is, let's just, cater a little bit to the casuals. In solo queue, yeah? It's very hard to keep track of a Thief in solo queue 100% of the time, because that both requires you to look at the minimap while you're playing at the same time, and he has stealth. Sometimes nobody knows where he's at, because he can stealth outside of vision, and he doesn't show up on anybody's minimap. So... in a team setting, yeah, no, Thief is not as terrible as some people make it out to be. They're bad against other classes, certain classes, like Mesmers, for example, or Power Ranger, for example, or even Glass Cannon Ellies and stuff like that, for example. If they catch you out, and you are in a bad position, you're going to die. But I think that's how the game should be, but not necessarily too much for SD Thief, because it's too forgiving for what it does. DP is fine, SD, if you tone down the way that either the endurance regeneration or you put frames in between where you can actually attack them, with the way Thief works, you have initiative and you just keep chaining abilities back and forth, and there's nothing that you can technically do against that. This is how I fight SD Thieves, from a Scepter Focus Ellie perspective, yeah? When he goes into Flanking Strike, that's his only time that I have a 100% guarantee window that I can hit him, is when he hits me with the Flanking Strike.
Yeah.
So I have an Instacast.
That's right.
I have an Instacast, and how do I counterplay that? With Instacast. You have at one point or another, it comes down to okay, well, if that thing has low counterplay, you have to counter it with something that has even lower counterplay, And so, if you add things to the game, I don't want to make this like World of Warcraft where it's like just sitting there cast times and it's just very slow pace, I guess. But I want to make it so that at least people have time to react to things, or you can make good decisions based off of what the opponent is doing. Because sometimes you get caught out at the wrong time. You will sometimes like I can feel worthless, on like whatever I'm playing just because I'm dead all the time, or
I know
and
that
sometimes
feeling.
you just have those days, and it's just it's not even like you're a bad player, It's just sometimes you get caught out at the bad time and you just can't do anything. So, but it's not all the time, and most of it I feel is a player skill issue. But there are some things that you just can't get around, and like SC Thief is really strong.
Okay, all right. Any other thoughts just on the meta? I'd actually like to go around and just have each of you kind of give me this. Is right now with the meta, is the glass half full or is the glass, half empty? Are things turning more and more positive, or are things still going in a negative direction?
Half empty.
Half empty. Zombify says half empty, so he still thinks it's going in a negative direction. Morpheus. Oh, sorry. Explain that. Yeah, Zombify. Sorry. Go ahead.
The reason I say that, I don't like the game design of A is OP, so let's buff B to deal with A. Now B's OP, let's buff D to deal with B. I don't like that. I prefer to bring things down to an equal level and then slowly tweak. So that's why I'm saying it's half empty. I don't. That's okay. I'll give you an example. Necromancer back when the Doomfire patch came through. That should not have gone through. We never should have got burning. So what happens is, everyone cries that we're OP. We were OP. And so it finally gets nerfed. They nerf other things. They nerfed, bleeding, etc. All our other applications. But they nerfed Doomfire a little bit, but not that much. It was still OP.
Mm-hmm.
So finally they hit Doomfire hard this last patch. Okay. So now they hit Doomfire, and then they buff power. So then it puts Necros in an awkward spot of, we got to run, lack of counterplay, Reaper's Protection, stuff like that. So now I think if they tone down Terror, they tone down these fire and air sigils and stuff, they started to remove lack of counterplay, and started from there, I think we'd start to see a healthier meta.
Okay.
Anything, add some cast animations of things, including Necro Marks, give more play. I think there's too many classes that their heal is too brainless. Thieves withdraw, Warriors healing signet. Interrupting a heal and high level play is a big thing. Protecting your heal in a high level play is a big thing. I think you should be rewarded or punished for it if you don't use it correctly. And I would like to see that. That's why, I don't know, maybe I am on a different thought path than what, some of the other designers are. I fully trust them, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Morpheus, same question. Do you agree with Zombify? Is the glass half empty, or do you think it's half full?
Yeah, I think it's half empty. I agree completely with what Zombie said. I feel like the balance is like basically just like on like a never-ending cycle. One class is OP in one meta, or a couple classes. Okay, then they have a balance patch, and then those classes get nerfed to the ground, and then some other classes become OP. And I feel like it's going to be a never-ending cycle like that, and it's kind of annoying. So I'd rather them just like exactly what Zombie said, bring everything down to like just the same level, because one of the issues that with the cycle that they have going on, for example, back in the day, 100 Blade Warrior used to be terrible, and it used to get trained down easily by Necro. Anything Kandi, it would just completely destroy it. Then we did have a couple players who were pretty good, like Freds, H-Man, Knight. They were all pretty good at 100 Blade Warrior.
H-Man
and
OG.
Yeah. So the thing is, okay, so they played it even in the terrible meta, and they still did pretty well with it. And then when ANET had a balance patch, they buff Warriors. Now H-Man and all these people, all these Warriors, that's their main class. So if you're gonna buff their main class and that they're already good at, then it's gonna make them seem like they're extremely OP, and then everyone's just gonna say, "Oh,
what happened to Necro?"
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened to Necro. And it's just like now everyone's saying, "Oh, you're only good at your class because your class is broken." When it's just like, well, I didn't ask. I didn't ask for this buff to where I'm OP. Like that's what ANET did, and they keep doing it. and I just want them to kind of like end that cycle.
And sometimes the community will ignore the fact that people like Tarsus and H-Man have been playing Warrior since like the beginning. I mean, like Tarsus, for
Yeah.
example. I think I've only ever seen him on his Warrior. I don't run into him any other time. So it's like, you know, a lot of criticisms will come out on Tarsus, you know, of, he's not as good as, you know, let's take Zoose, for example, just because he plays Warrior. Well, yeah, but he's played Warrior just as much as Zeus has played Elementalist. You know, they're both pretty good players. So you know that seeing that in the community sometimes has frustrated me personally in the past, because I'm like, well, now wait a minute. If you followed these players, you would know that they've played it even when it wasn't popular, and now that it is, they didn't ask for the buffs that they got. You know,
exactly.
So yeah, that was a good point that you brought up there, Morpheus. All right, so right now I'm at 2 with glass half empty. Zeus, are you going to be my beacon of positivity? Are you going to give me it, or are you going to join these negative
Join
Nancy's?
the dark side, man. Just join the dark side.
I won't answer that straight off the bat just yet, but I think that to go with what they're saying with the nerfing and the buffing of one thing over the other. See, now like achieving perfect balance in the game is nearly impossible, but like you can get close. And there are games right now that are popular that I think are unbalanced. League of Legends, for example. You know, it's like, okay, you can buff and you can nerf and you can do all these things, but like in the end, it just comes down to, can I do anything against that? So like, let's say we have League, right? I'm gonna take that as an example. You have 120 something champions, right? Okay, if like 20 of those champions become unviable, you still have 100 champions to like mess around with, yeah? Sure, there's going to be like 40 top tier champions, but that doesn't mean that just because some guy's pocket champion, like his pocket pick that he's been playing forever, is going to be bad. Some people have never played against that, you know, even people at the top level. They don't have as much experience against a really, 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 really good, you know, person playing champion A or like, you know, class A or whatever. And like, everybody's played against the meta, the flavor of the month, you know, so you know how to play against it. But then when something new comes out, you know, we'll see how it fades out. Like flavor of the months come and go, but this game has like, you don't have 100 and something champions. You have a selected group amount of builds and a selected amount of class that can apply those things that you can say, okay, these things are really strong, and I'm going to rate them on this scale of this list. And there's like 3 or 4 things that are real close to the top tier, and then like 4 or 5 things that are middle of the pack, and then like maybe 1 or 2 things that are just really bad. Like nobody wants that, unless you are just like reincarnation of Jesus Guild Wars 2 or something, you know? So,
You're
like,
talking about me again.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, I told everybody I was going to lay low on that, but
yeah.
So I think the main issue isn't so much like I agree with everything they're saying. Like it's kind of half empty in a way that they're approaching it with the same, you know, throw a nerf here and throw a buff here, you know, to this class. But I think it's maybe it's more so like how much of it is it? Like how much of it is it are you buffing taking away from this and then giving to this? You know, like how much of it do you need to like, and that just comes with small increments of changes. That's what I was saying. Like if you make small increments of changes and you kind of just let it out for like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then just see how it plays out, and then you make some more changes, and I think it's not so much like, all right, huge patch every, you know, couple of months or whatever. That makes it very hard to balance for any balance team.
It's very chaotic.
Because people are going to figure things out that are OP. Like people that play their class, like, you know, Morpheus, me, Zombie, like we play our class, we know the ins and outs of it. You know, you don't think we've tried every single build possible? Like we've tried some crazy stuff, but you know, once you like, but in our heads, we keep thinking like, okay, if you just like buff this trait line just a little bit, and I can use this utility and make this powerful, like I think that would be really strong. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, you know, they take away some trait lines from this, and then they buff this, and then, you know, like A becomes weaker and B becomes more viable. And it's not because A just became like terrible. It's just that B is now a better path because it at the top tier of play, like you can't become just so much better than like the very, very best players. You know, you can't leap them like that, like you can, you know, casual players. And there's not like, okay, your build is really strong, but my build can beat it. And even though the weaker build can win sometimes if you're a better player, it's not always the case at the top tier of play because you have to massively outplay and in some situations.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So is that a non-answer? You're not gonna give us the half full, half empty?
I
I
think
heard a half empty. I heard a half empty.
Zombify's leading you that way. It's you're on the dark side.
in the way that they're balancing it, yeah, it's half empty. But I don't think necessarily like the game itself is going in a half empty direction. I think it's all right. I like
Oh
Yeah,
no,
I agree
it's
with that.
increasing.
Yeah.
It's increasing. That's not what when I
That's
originally.
awesome that you brought that up because that was the next topic that I wanted to move on to. From
Oh,
balance,
sick.
I wanted to kind of head to the state of the North American competitive scene. Let's look at Tournament Legends 1, Tournament Legends 2. Is the game going in the right direction? Is the North American scene going in the right direction here? What are your takes on the two tournaments? Is this the kind of stuff that you want to see more often? And then how can it be improved? Where would you like to see the game going here? So let's just start with Tournament Legends 1, Tournament Legends 2. Is this going in the right direction, positive feel, or would you like to see us ArenaNet and DPS and Misspedia do other things? Whoever wants to take that, go ahead and jump in.
Since I was already talking to you about this, Justin, I guess I'll say something.
Okay.
I'm gonna use another very well known and well off gaming company that's been doing tournaments. Most of you know who Valve is, probably. You know what Dota 2 is. I really like the way they set up their international. In terms of, there was a few spots for seeding for top teams that have been competing in other tournaments that were doing well, and they were just crowd favorites. People want to see their favorite players play, of course.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be some seeding in that way, that there's a guaranteed spot, but there should be plenty of spots for people, wild cards. Give the no names a chance. Maybe a nice big upset will happen, which upsets are fun to watch. I love it.
Of course. Yeah. I love shoutcasting those. Those are great.
Yeah. I don't know. TOL 1 was kind of like that, but I think there was too many spots given out, to my knowledge, right? If anyone can correct me.
It was-
Yeah,
eight
there
spots.
there was 8 spots guaranteed.
Okay. I subbed for both the first TOL and the second TOL. I didn't care to play in them. I was dealing with other stuff,
Okay.
and I just last minute got pulled in. So I didn't really care to look deep into them. That's my only opinion, though. I think it'd be cool to set it up like that.
Okay.
But that also requires several other smaller monthly tournaments going on. Every 2 months, 3 months. That has some prize behind it, so people can push for that, and then you can start selecting how you want to seed it from there.
Okay. All right. Morpheus, Zoose, kind of same question. Term Legends 1, do you agree with Zombify? Should we start emulating more, Dota 2's style? Is the current format, the current structure okay where we have these, weekly qualifying tournaments? Or would you like to see something different? Would you like to see, a different style?
I can't really speak on other games because I don't really know how they run their tournaments. But
Okay.
for just like off the top of my head, I think I kind of like the qualifiers. I don't want to say I like it like 100%. I do think that I agree with Zombie. Like top teams should automatically be given a spot. Just like, let's be honest, I don't think us outplayed Megalodon. Some teams, I don't think they should have played in the qualifiers because it was going to be
Okay.
a blowout anyway. So like, and would rather see is teams that normally don't really get to make it to that final spot compete in these qualifiers, and then if they do win, get some sort of prize, and then also qualify to the final bracket. I think that would be a lot more incentive for some of these teams to actually play, and they may not win in the final bracket, they may not make it to the finals, but if they do win the qualifier, they gain something from it, and they actually get a chance because, like, let's say, for example, Sharks with Lasers, they're a pretty good team, but they unfortunately had to play us to qualify, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. So I do think that like what Zombie said, some teams should just automatically be qualified. The other thing I want to say is the only thing I don't really like about the qualifiers is it kind of elongates this tournament for like so long. I honestly think like it should have been done within maybe a month.
Okay.
I'm not really sure
Yeah.
What's it been? What, 2 months?
It'll be it's 5
Like a
weeks.
month and a
Yeah,
half,
it's
yeah.
about a month.
Usually-
It's 4 weeks, and then you've got the finals.
Well, let me say,
Yeah, but
usually
when was the
tournaments-
first qualifier?
The first qualifier was back.
July something.
Right after. Yeah, it was July 12th. I want to say right after
Yeah.
the fight night. We did it in the same week.
Okay, so about what, 6 weeks? When the TOL finals is actually over, it'll be about what, 6 weeks then?
Yeah.
And I think it definitely should be shortened because I don't know. I just feel like it's been taking too long. Like the finals is literally going to be the day before I go back to school, and this tournament started like close to like the beginning of the summer. So I just think it's kind of way too long. And I understand like Miss Peta is kind of like understaffed, which is kind of why I think they should maybe hire more people or something just to get it going quicker because. People lose patience, like as you guys experienced in the first TOL. Like I lose patience too. Like no one wants to be waiting around forever because, let's be honest, I don't want to be like sound like mean or anything, but like these prizes they're giving away. Now a lot of us already have legendaries, and a lot of people already have legendaries in the game. Now if the prize was something that people have never seen before, or it was a cash prize, then maybe I would have different feelings towards it. But it's for something we've all seen and a lot of people already have. So I don't think they need to really put so much effort into making it seem like, I don't know. I honestly think the reason they're doing this is just to kind of like make it seem like there's something happening every week or two, as opposed to like saying, okay, let's just have a tournament where people are really interested in and let's be over with it within 2 weeks or a month. But I don't know. I don't really like the format that much. I do think it can be run better. That's just my opinion.
So would you prefer like Tournament of Legends 1 style where it's one big tournament, or just like qualifiers but over a shorter period of time? So like maybe combine the 2 weeks into one.
Yeah, I think for
because I'm
TOL,
just
yeah.
I think every organization, Misspedia, DPS, we're always looking to improve.
Yeah.
So if we any way that we can make the competitive players' lives easier, I'm sure Blue would agree with me. We'd do it in a heartbeat. So I'm just that's an interesting point that you brought up. Kind of just elaborate. Like, what changes would you like to see then specifically to the format? If you don't like the Tournament of Legends 2 qualifier format, and you think it's going too long. Just what change would you like to see?
For TOLs, like for just Tournament of Legends, I think they need to shorten it to maybe 2 weeks to a month at the most.
Okay.
And like I said, have seedings for the top teams, and then let other teams who really want legendaries, PvE teams, overworld teams, just go in there and have a chance to qualify. But for big tournaments, let's say like the All-Star, or I don't know, another PAX, like PAX 2, I do think they need to have something similar to what they're doing now for PAX.
Okay.
Now, I don't think they need to do it for TOL. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Okay.
TOL is just, it's not really, they don't need to put that much effort, I think, for TOL. So I would prefer them to shorten the TOL.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Just great answer. Like I said, great insight. I didn't think of it that way. Zoose, again, your take on the format. Just TOL1, TOL2. Are we headed in the right direction as a community? Are these the kind of events that you want to see? Just your take on it in general.
TOL1, I wasn't around to participate in.
Okay.
So I can't really say much about that. It's just letting everybody else talk. In terms of the Tournament of Legends format, I agree with you need to have teams that are going to have automatic seeds, especially when you have Misspedia and stuff like that weekly, and you have like these teams that are just going to, and ESL as well too, these teams that just show up and they just like, if one team isn't showing up and like, this team is always going to win and like this other team's going to win and sometimes it's 50-50 type of deal. There's a lot of, quote unquote top teams and they've been playing for a while and, they've been together for a while. There's a reason, they have those placings. They are good teams. They're good players on there. And, you put them against a team that maybe nobody knows them yet. I mean, you don't know that other team could be really good. They could be really, not very good. You don't know. But it doesn't make for a very good spectator showing. Like, you want the teams that are around the same level, like maybe amateur teams, I guess you could say, to fight amongst themselves to have a shot at getting their names out there. And I think in terms of like tournament setups and stuff like that, I like the way that it was run and how quickly it was run. Like when you guys were doing it, it was
Okay.
very smooth. And so whatever it is that like DPS is doing to run like that one qualifier that you ran was like very smooth in terms of everything that it was running. And I know you guys have a lot more people that are staffed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't necessarily think like time for the tournament, yeah, is an issue, but time within the actual tournament itself, depending on who organizes it and who's staffed and who's not, like that's something within the actual people that are
Yeah.
running it. So I don't have any comments on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree the format could be a lot shorter. It could be for TOL. You don't have to make it, like such a big thing where it's like what
Yep.
Morf said, it's a month and a half over, and you have the qualifiers are, unless it's a good qualifier, it's kind of boring to watch. To be honest,
Yeah.
until semifinals where you get the teams that really are gonna fight each other so that they can get that that spot to qualify for the finals. And so, you know,
So from a caster standpoint, would you like to see, Misspedia, DPS, whoever's casting, doesn't really matter, but would you like to see us, just casting the semifinals then for these qualifiers? Or do you think the quarterfinals just sort of the matches are just too hard? They're just too one-sided normally. Is that part of the problem? Is it with the viewership and making it more viewer friendly? Would you like to, just because I'd like to think, we can learn from what you guys are saying here. Is part of the problem just the quarterfinals are just too one-sided? If we showed just the semifinals, is that, would that fix part of the problem with these qualifiers not being fun to watch on your end? Or, what do you guys think? Is that like an appropriate change moving forward?
with the way that it's seeded, like 1 to 32,
Mhm.
or 1 to 32, and then you have the first and second seeds in the lower and in the upper and the bottom bracket. Yeah, the first couple of matches, like you're not going to really expect it to make it out of that. Like,
Yeah.
if we take the NCAA, the March Madness college basketball like bracket, yeah, there's some teams that are going to upset, and yeah, there's sometimes you're going to see things like that, but that's different. Like, those are huge schools regardless. Like,
Yeah.
you know who they are. Like, we don't know who some of these teams are. You don't know if they're good or they're bad. So it's difficult to say that. I don't want to just say that to rule out teams that maybe they're really good teams fighting quarterfinals. You don't know. But part of it comes down to, like, yeah, that would solve part of it. But then you're casting just 2 matches, yeah?
Yeah.
And then that makes it, a lot less. It's a lot less matches, but I'm sure those 2 matches would be entertaining regardless. But you might miss out on, like, seed 7 versus seed whatever, and those teams are actually generally pretty close. They just happen to get seeded that way, and quarterfinals might have been like a 499 to 500 Lord Rush
Yeah,
or something,
exactly.
and that could have been awesome to watch. But part of it just comes down to, I think if you made it from the quarterfinals onwards, quarterfinals and semifinals, it'd probably be better.
Okay.
Which I think it is what that is right now, isn't it? Or no, you cast 6 matches, yeah? I believe it's 6 matches.
Yeah. Yeah. We casted 6 matches. No, it was only 4. We only did the quarterfinal, 2 of the quarterfinals.
Okay.
Kind of actually, and this was something that Blue did for the Tournament of Legends 1. It's kind of carried over to Tournament of Legends 2. It's again just looking for the games that we think people are going to want to watch. The ones that you try to avoid putting a game on there that might be one-sided. That's just the decision. That's why they only stream 2 of the quarterfinal matches. Is they try to pick the best 2. It's also an interest in time, trying to keep the stream from being 6 hours. Kind of keeping the viewers engaged. But that, like I said,
something?
that's Morpheus.
Good. I was
No,
going to
go
say,
ahead.
something that might help is it probably would take a lot more people on staff, but kind of have like admins kind of watching every game, and then having someone talking to the headset as to which games are close.
Mhm.
Therefore, like you can then just switch like automatically into those games. Like, let's say you're watching, I don't know, game A, and it's like 400 to, like, let's say 150, and then you realize, okay, that game is not really worth watching, and then I don't know, someone in your headset's like, okay, hey, game D is like $3.99 to like 400. I think you should switch to this game, and then therefore you can just automatically switch and start shoutcasting that game. And then as that game is about to end, there might be another game that's getting close, and then you can switch to that game. So I think like I said, that might require a lot more tech or
Yeah.
a lot more people on staff.
It
That would
is.
probably help.
It is involved. I will tell you that. That is something DPS has actually already done. Because we had a situation in the second qualifier where the quarterfinal that we were supposed to show got canceled because the team dropped out because they didn't think they were going to even get that far. So they were just and one of their players had to go. So they dropped out because they didn't have 5, and so we had to scramble. And so all of the you have all the admins in each room. That Misspedia does that as well. I know you try to have an admin in every room running the event. So we had to do an all call to our admins and go, we need a match to show now. Give us something. So that is something that we've done in the past, and it is doable. That'd be a good change, I think, moving forward. That'd be interesting. Interesting to see if we could actually apply that. So let's kind of wrap this up with just what other events would you guys like to see in the future? Are you looking for more? I don't know. 2v2 events on a grander scale? Are you looking for cash prizes? What's the one thing that you would really, really want to see in the next couple months? What's one event that you'd like to see in the next couple of months?
Arenas.
All right.
I think similar. Go ahead.
It would have to be implemented on game side, and so you can't see who you're queuing into, in my opinion, because there's too much counter comping going on. Like I experienced it this week. Double time against you try and switch to power, so they'll swap right back. Like it's not fun. It's not fun. It's too much lack of counterplay, counter comping. So I would like to see a 3v3 arena. That'd be cool. But
3v3.
Exactly.
Like that has to be game side. It cannot be doing the spectator thing where you see that you're queuing into. It has to be you queue into them. Oh, maybe you get a whiff that they're queuing right now. You can maybe try and snipe them. Okay, cool. But if you queue into them, you don't see them until the game starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it like WoW. Like they have a good system.
Exactly.
They do. I mean, you're not gonna knock it. They have a good system. I'd also like. Zoose, I might need your help on this one since you're the League player. I don't really play League. Doesn't League their leaderboards or brackets or leagues or whatever, if you are actually at the top or the top 0.5%, you get an invite to bigger tournaments? Is that correct? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're talking about like the challenger part. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're if your team is top 20, you get to qualify for you to become a pro, basically.
That I would like to see. That'd be cool. That'd also give something to actually work towards for a lot of these newer teams. A lot of people, are trying to climb the leaderboards, but the system's just very poor. And it means nothing. At the end of the day, it means nothing.
Yeah,
you won or not even ranked. It doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
So I'd like to see that, but 3v3 would be cool. But none of this, spectator stuff, counter comping. That's just not fun. And then you get long matches. They're just stalemates, and because no one wants to engage. And
part of that is also there's no objective.
Yeah, there's no objective. Exactly.
Okay, so Zombify says 3v3s. Zeus, Morpheus, what do you guys say? What would you like to see?
I don't mind 2v2s or 3v3s, but I agree with Morpheus with arenas, and I agree with Zombie where it has to be game side. You can't see who you're queuing to. That type of deal. So everybody kind of has like a balance comp, or maybe if you want to cheese one out, you run into something that counter comps you. That's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Morpheus?
I'd definitely like to see utilization of the leaderboard, like exactly what Zombie said. There's no reason to be number one on the leaderboard right now, and it's been that way for so long. Like, I want to be able to log into the game. If there's no top teams queuing, okay, let me go do arenas and then have a reason to do it, not just sitting hard and miss, picking my nose or something, and not really realizing what to do.
Okay.
So like that's what I would like to see. Just more incentive for some of the things that they have in game and arenas.
All right. Well, last question that I have for you. We'll just wrap this up one last time. The direction of the NA competitive scene. Positive, negative, is the glass half full or half empty? We're going to go in the reverse order. The direction of the competitive scene. Just to wrap this up, Zeus, glass half full or half empty?
You said the competitive scene? Like,
Yeah, just the direction that PvP is headed right now. Are you guys getting a more positive vibe, or is it still negative? I just want to get kind of a pulse of where the top players are right now. Is it a positive vibe moving forward with the Tournament Legends 2, the Gamescom events, or is it still stagnated, kind of in a bad spot?
with the events, yeah, I can see it. I can see it moving forward. It steps in the right direction. Small things
Good.
here. Misspedia, it's Tournament of Legends, Gamescom, things of that nature. But definitely the formats can be better, like what Zombie and Morpheus are saying, and definitely you can lessen the time, because outside of this, like some people have lives too. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you don't wanna take up too much of everybody's time. Yeah.
All right,
So-
Morpheus.
In terms of the PvP where it's going, I definitely think it's half full. I believe in Grouch, and I'm pretty sure there's some.
Yeah,
Some
I'll give
pretty cool things.
Let's for Grouch right now, guys. For Grouch, all right.
Give it a real respect right here.
So I feel like there are going to be some pretty cool events coming up, hopefully. And I do feel like ANET has been quiet for some time, and I feel like they might have something under their sleeves that might just come out in one of these days that we might get excited for. But also the NA community is actually surprising. I want to say like is coming together as a communities. Now that might sound weird. You know how like NA is kind of like the drama scene,
Yeah.
but I kind of want to say a lot of beef that a lot of players have had has kind of toned down. We've even like as you've seen, we've had like these in-house 5v5s. And like where like basically it's just like an arena full of like top players and you just join teams and play. Now that honestly that's like more fun to me than team queuing at times, just because
I
like
agree. Yeah.
you get to
Yeah.
like play with a lot of people you haven't normally play with, talk with them, and then just like have fun.
Mhm.
So like I would have never in a million years would have ever thought that would have happened on NA. So like I do think it's heading in a better direction.
I mean, that was kind of going on back when we were practicing for PAX. Like we were just scrimming, and that was the most fun I had. I enjoyed scrimming. I don't care to queue. I don't care to climb leaderboards. I don't care to solo queue. I kind of rage when I solo queue. Solo queue rage. But yeah, I agree with you, Morph. Like the scrims, amazingly fun. The community is coming together. So with me ignoring my thoughts on balance, I think the glass is half full. Is that what you want to hear, Justin?
Yes, that is. I love it. Some positivity from you. Love it.
Gamescom, they are cooking other stuff. I'm sure they are. I have faith. I have faith in Grouch, and
Awesome.
I think if we keep going down this road, we should be seeing a lot more events more frequently. So I have faith.
Yeah, without spilling the beans on anything, I think you guys are on the right track. I think a lot is going to be coming soon, and I'm excited for kind of what Grouch is doing. I think that's a great spot to end this at. Is in Grouch we trust, and
Grouch we trust.
at the very least, I think you all hit it on the head. I think the direction is actually kind of positive, and it's a great vibe. And I want to thank every single one of you for being here today. Zoose, Morpheus, Zombify, you guys have been awesome. For a first-time cast from my end, first time doing something like this, you guys made it my job really easily. So I thank you guys for spending a little extra time than we had planned with me today. So without saying anything else, Zeus, Zombify, good luck in Gamescom.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for joining me today. To all of our viewers out there, this is the first time that we've done this, but we're going to be doing this on a weekly basis. So join us again next week, where I'll hopefully have some maybe newer faces. Since two of these guys are going to be out at Gamescom, we'll try to get some new players in here and talk about some different topics. So we're going to try to make this a weekly thing. So thank you guys, and join us next week at the same time, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys very much.
Peace.